Mentally abusing them, physically abusing them, sexually abusing them, adverse childhood experiences, now adverse childhood experiences, mentally abusing them, physically abusing them, sexually abusing them.
Adverse childhood experiences. We got the unpredictable stresses that children go through, like losing mommy or daddy, or watching them go to jail, forced to grow up because they've been touched down there. They even see parents depressed with no time to spare. This is why the kids are lonely, traumatized. That's why ACEs matter.
So have you heard about these things called ACEs?
I mean, I think I heard of them, something about adverse childhood experiences. Why you ask me that?
Yeah, that is what ACEs stands for. And I was reading this research from the CDC. And like you said, adverse childhood experiences, you basically take these 10 questions and it's going to give you a score, 0 through 10. What was fascinating about this research was they said if you score a 5 or more, they be saying you're a risk to society.
So what you're saying is both me and my sons are a risk to society? They build prisons in preparation for people with these untreated ACEs, don't they?
Yeah, basically. Unless, of course, they go untreated and you catch them early. But that ain't it. You know what else the CDC said?
What?
The CDC said that diabetes, obesity, cancer, heart disease, and stroke are all associated with these things called adverse childhood experiences, a.k.a. ACEs.
Stop. So what you saying is, if the streets don't kill me, the diseases resulting from these ACEs will. The diseases resulting from these ACEs will. What about alcoholism? I got a couple of people that's been messed up on alcoholism in my family. A couple of them done died.
That's in there too, but I'm just talking about the top 5. We ain't even got to the tip of the iceberg. Check this out. You know what else they said?
What?
They said 1 in every 6 people have at least a score of 4 or higher.
1 in every 6 people have at least a score of 4 or higher.
So what you saying is, at least one person on this call right now should have been incarcerated or at risk for early death because of these untreated ACEs?
Basically. You're going to be on stream when we come back.
Okay. How y'all doing? My name is Damon. I'm a licensed master social worker and social emotional coach. I'm a reacher and contributing show host for ACEs Matter Live. On the last Monday of each month, I will facilitate a 60-minute educational conversation about healing and preventing adverse childhood experiences, a.k.a. ACEs. As reachers, we take the mic to interview people who have experienced and survived ACEs and subject matter experts on the topic related to childhood adversities and adult well-being. The views on this show are our own opinions and perspective, so nobody get mad and get upset with me because I said something that touched a nerve for you. ACEs are a form of childhood trauma, distress, and recognized by mental health professionals worldwide. ACEs are not something we just come up with. ACEs is an acronym that stands for Adverse Childhood Experience. ACEs are negative events that affect the developing mind and bodies of children under the age of 18. So not only do ACEs negatively impact children, but the negative effects such as physical and mental illnesses often cross over into adulthood. So I have a host, I have a guest on my show. I'd like to bring him in. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. James Tucker. I currently work as a social worker. I have probably about 10 or more years dealing with ACEs. My spectrum runs from drug, alcohol, and behavior specialist in Texas, in a Texas school district, prior to me being now in Arizona. Again, it's a privilege for you guys to have me, and I just hope that, as Mr. Damien said, that you don't get offended. I just take a different approach. I think sometimes, as my grandmother would say, a hit dog will holler. What that means is sometimes we're going to say stuff that hurts, and you're going to say things because it bothers you. Or you may be giving a reply to someone that you know because of the conversation. So sometimes in order to truly move, we got to have a critical and crucial conversation. And I'm just happy that I'm a part of it. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for even coming out and giving us those words of wisdom just there. And like you said, not only must the truth be told, but it must also be the truth. And that's what we plan on doing in this show. So working in the school system like you did, because I worked in the school system too, but tell me a little bit about how you saw the ACEs affect some of the people that you work with.
I mean, the question is, we only have an hour. So
okay, give me the age range from, give me some first grade to fifth grade, and then from ninth grade to 12th grade, if you can.
I'm gonna actually keep it real simple. I'm gonna say pre-K through 12.
Yes.
Because I actually had, at one time, I had 19 schools I was responsible for. Yes. That gave me the elementaries that fed to the junior high, that fed to the high school. So there was the one stint, even though I was there in that particular district for over 25 years, the longest I stayed in one particular high school was 10 years. And so in that 10-year span, you got to see kids who, from that kinder all the way until the day they graduated. So to see and hear and speak to a young man or a young woman, as far as having the conversation with a kinder about why are you, or what's making you hit the girls and the boys and even strike out at teachers, and to eventually have that conversation move to this this pre-K, saying, well, it's okay because mommy gets hit by mommy. It's okay because mommy gets hit by boyfriend, or mommy gets hit by my daddy. That's pre-K. And so that's ACEs in the optical form of, I may not understand it, but because I see it, I'm going to go out and reenact it.
Right. Like at that stage, so many kids emulate the behavior that they see. And correct. Like you said, they bring it to the school. And that's when the school have that conversation with the parents. And the parents will tell the kid, don't you go in there showing my business, telling my business. we speak and we on the same type of time.
Right.
So, and we understand what goes on with that. So tell me a little bit about that prison. I always call it the prep school for prison school.
You know, for me, it hits hard because I could have easily been, and for the longest of time, I was in that category. And, you know, we don't know as parents and as a community how crucial that third grade first test is. You know, from that third grade test, the state of Texas, for example, it gives an idea of how many more prisons they must build, just simply off a third grade test. And the only thing they represent from that test is failures based on the 1%. They don't even do the 10%. So people say, well, that's not that important. I say, well, you got to understand, in the state of Texas, for example, in third grade, you're going to have over roughly about 5 million kids take this test in third grade. So if you take 10% of 5 million, isn't that 500,000?
Yes.
So then you break that down to 1% of that, of 500,000. So we're right at 50,000. They know it's not going to be enough for 50,000 people to go to prison. Oh, but if 0.5% of that make it, which most likely they will, they have to now build an additional 3 to 4 prisons to house this 20 to 25,000 new prisoners that's coming on board. And we just did the simple numbers. We didn't do the hardcore numbers of once ACEs kicks in, or once this kid, especially for our males, when they're going through that emotional, going back to what you said earlier, Mr. Avinger, when the males go through this period of life when they lose their words. I'm so frustrated and flustered. I'm so mad and upset. I can't even bring my words, but I sure can bring these actions.
Put my
as
hands
Jesus
up.
said, right? As Jesus said, I might can't bless you with my words, but I can bless you with these hands. So, and that's what our kids live with. So, just
so okay. So a quick thing. So if you can understand, how do you think the ACEs impacts educational learning, and why so many kids who have ACEs end up in special education?
That's
I don't want to get you in no trouble.
No. I blame that simple, and even the teachers in Texas and the teachers out here. I'm huge on what I call free attention theory. Our kids, when they first come into that building, we cannot go right into education.
Right.
Sorry. I need to free up your mind to allow your neurons and them synapses to connect so you can learn. Because the odds are we don't know what took place in that household the night before or in the car on the way.
Right.
And so we must do things to free that attention up, whether that's meditation, whether that's light music, jazz with positive words flowing into our kids' heads, into their hearts, affirming, confirming that they are brilliant, they are bright, it's okay to struggle. And we give those positive affirmations way before we get into learning. And back to your question, I believe because we have not done that, we are now having a huge population of kids who just because they process slow doesn't mean that they are slow. But It's an easy fix when you are in CPS, when you come from a broken background, broken home, dysfunctional environment. It's easy for us to put you in that because we believe it has been the notion that medication can fix it.
Yeah, that magic pill. And I always hated that. And I always used to tell parents, don't you put your child on that medication. They don't need that yet. They just need to understand there's consequences for your behavior and what you're doing in class. And I always used to tell kids, it's difficult reading out in 3rd grade, but it's almost impossible to read in 12th grade. So learn that stuff now and deal with the hardship now. But it's so much of the, like you said, the teasing and the bullying, which is a part of ACEs, that impacts these kids where they don't want to learn. And they do so much, they'll act up to get put in the principal's office so they don't have to sit in class and go through that difficulty and stuff like that. You mentioned entertainment, like music. So how does entertainment and music, how you think that impacts the ACEs? Because entertainment industry, they're making a killing off our poverty and our pain.
Well, it's the abnorm has become the norm. And so now we see all of these things that we grew up knowing and believing that's wrong. But after a while, it's now become so normal to where I use this example. I remember as a junior high, I had to be 6th or 7th grade, running to my mama because on TV they said HE double hockey sticks. And my mama looked at me and said, boy, get the hell out of here with that. That ain't nothing. And so, but in my head, I grew up thinking that hell was a cuss word.
Yeah.
Now it's so normalized on TV cussing that kids come to school cussing because we have normalized everything. And so the entertainment industry has taken, and as it says, $1 trillion conversation because that's what they're making. They're making over, I think it might be close to $1 billion. I mean, quadrillion, because it's so much money made to normalize that we have lost what is normal.
Right. And it's like, so how can we get people to in our community to understand what ACEs is, and how can we combat that? Because like you said, I make my money off of pain and people going through stuff. Like I always used to tell kids, I used to work with the little kids. They said, oh, I don't want to work with you later in life. I said, if I have to work with you later on in life, I failed you now. So I don't want to see you again as you get older. So how do we combat that? And how do we get out the community to understand, don't normalize that behavior? What do we do?
We have to create the atmosphere that allows people to feel, allows people to share, non-judgmental, and in a way that in that process allows me to, as you alluded to earlier, heal. I can't heal when I don't know what's really bothering me. I can't talk about what's really bothering me if I don't have the right vocabulary. I can't have the right vocabulary if nobody's in front of me walking me through what I might or may not be feeling. But what we have is we have everything that's thrown off and everything that's been minimized to where I feel like you don't see me. You don't hear me. You don't even value me. So therefore, I sit in my corner. I smoke what I smoke and I drink what I drink. And I'm just trying to get through because we have, as Miss Cindy heard me say before, we have a survival mentality, not a living mentality.
Right.
And the difference is survival is based on 24 hours. It resets. Living is based on every 2 to 4 years. So if I'm in 6th grade, I can't wait to get to 8th grade. If I'm in 8th grade, I can't wait to get to high school. If I'm in high school, I can't wait to get to college. In college, I can't wait to get married, right? I'm living because I'm projecting in my thinking. But if I'm surviving, all I'm trying to get through is the right now. And just so happen, right. And if just so happen, as our kids say, I do it tomorrow. But I always tell them tomorrow never comes because it's called today. But when today gets here, all they try focusing on is today. And when today gets here, all they know is today. And before they know it, you and I know that it'll be 20 summers. 20 summers have passed. And now they are now training their kids on how to survive and not how to live. We have to have these crucial conversations in our communities.
Absolutely. And I thank you for speaking on that because so much of survival is key. But once you get past survival, how are you going to thrive? How are you going to live? Because what you had to do to survive through that winter, you don't have to do in that summer. And but you said we got to get to the point where we don't have to continue to survive, but to thrive and to push forward and reach back and grab somebody else and pull them forward with us.
Right. 100%. And one of the easiest and simplest ways to do that, and I've even approached apartments with this concept. You give me 3 to 4 apartments that you never lease out. Let me make that a community center. Let me talk to the people in there. And it's running from mom groups to pops groups to parent groups to dual family groups to blended family groups, because all those are different groups.
Yeah.
The conversation is different. So that's when we have to have that so that people know that you're coming to where they are, not trying to take them into a lane that they may not be comfortable with.
Okay. So I'm going to reach out to my studio person in the background. We ready to slide to the next segment. Dr. Tucker, thank you for those great words just now. You know, up next, movies that normalize generational aces. After this commercial break.
We're looking for sponsors. If you know any sponsors that want to come, Allstate, Farmers.
If you have a birthday coming up, or maybe you'd just like to do something for the
Yes, I wish y'all could hear me. Y'all are hilarious.
Selecting Aces Matter. Need a reason? Well, we have 3 just for you. Aces Matter helps families in need cover the cost of mental health services. Aces Matter hires local contractors and even stay-at-home parents who need flexible work schedules. We care about humanity, and Aces Matter provides free training and education to those who've been affected by childhood trauma. It's easy to set up a donation campaign from your Facebook account. From your phone or internet browser, type or search www.facebook.com/fundraisers. Select nonprofit. Search for Aces Matter. Type in how much money you'd like to raise. Choose an end date. Give your fundraiser a catchy title. Edit the default description if you'd like. Then click Create. Congratulations. Now you can invite your friends, share on your timeline, and raise money for a great cause. For every ACE story told, an ACE can be prevented. 2 heartbeats from our house to yours.
Aces Matter is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. EIN A.k.a.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Can y'all hear? Can you hear that, Damon?
Yeah.
You can hear it? Okay.
You pause it, yeah. Not no more.
Nah, my boy, y'all little punk.
There you go.
Let me see that. My God.
I said you hold it like this and pull the trigger.
Pow, punk ass.
Look, it ain't loaded.
What the hell are you doing? I don't want my son learning to pull drive-bys.
Look, I was just showing him how to shoot.
Yeah, Mama.
Anthony, get over here. Get over here. Let me tell you something. If I ever catch you with a gun in your hand, I will break your tail. You got that? Get out. Get up and get out. And how many times do I have to tell you to stop giving us money?
Look, don't give me that shit, okay? Because I don't see nobody with no fucking job around here, all right?
What you thought about that, Dr. Tucker? How many aces started in that?
Oh, where do we begin? You know, from the game that sounds like it's full of violence, from the time he pulls out the gun to the time he lets him touch it, to the time he sees it, to the time he then puts it in the position of shooting, to the time somebody, I mean, we can go on. And yet that scene, is for a lot of our kids, it's just that. They get more from the conversation with the young man than they will with mama or somebody who's there to correct them. She popped him and sent him on his way. But I'm still going to remember it because of the longer conversation that I had about the gun, with the gun, toward the gun, and what the gun is supposed to do than I am put it down and then get a swat in a pop.
Yeah.
So it's a lot going on in that. In the movie itself, the title. How many of our young men that would have been my age watched that who then felt like, I want to be that menace?
Yeah. And how to identify old dog.
Come on.
Young, black, and don't give a F.
At all.
And so many, like I said, so many people in it's part of the culture now to be that person, to be that individual. You know, intelligence is looked at as being soft and weak. And being thuggish is idolized and immortalized as the behavior that up to be. You know, and it's like, and at the time it was a dope movie, aged well, but life imitates art and art imitates life. There's so much of what is going on nowadays. There's so many kids embracing that behavior and learning that behavior and carrying on to and passing that down generationally.
Well, and just to add a small part to it before we get to the next clip as well, is this. Those old dogs are now parents. And so we can't get mad at the kids who this is the parent that they have. I can tell you more streets than I can books all day long.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. Next clip. Can't hear it yet.
No.
What do you hang out with this loser for? Want to wind up liking? You do, don't you?
No.
What's your heart beating for?
I'm scared, Dad.
Thought you were running a marathon.
Got it.
Stand up. See your tattoos.
Oh man, it's fucking Gibraltar.
Look red. This kid's a blood. See.
What you thought about that?
That one actually took me back as a kid, as a kid who'd been slammed on the concrete by officers, just because we ran, you know, and
listen,
yeah, and my partners who were, you know, banging at the time, I just so happened to be this kid who just wants to hang out with them, and you know, to then think and believe in my heart of hearts that was okay for them to talk to us that way, for them to look at us that way, even treat us that way. And for us to be like hard about that, it just scares me, because in my mind, I'm consistently wondering how life could have been so different without this crazy thing called education, without you know, jumping on it and running with it and trying to get as much as I can. But to know that as mad as I want to be at that officer, I can't be, because this is who he knows. You know, he didn't know me no other way. He don't know them that no other way. I just find it funny that our kids and our young adults still want to say we can sag and do all that. Then we want to get mad at how we're being treated. Well, the old saying is still true. If you look like it, act like it, and walk like it, you must be it. Right. So I find it hard to believe that they're gonna slam somebody in that tie you got on right now. I find it hard to believe that they're gonna jack up somebody who not only represents sense, but walks in sense.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I'm sorry. Hope I didn't trigger you. And you know, it brings back memories. But you know, you're in a good place where, you know, I hope you're in a good place where it.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, and for me, everybody that really knows me know I am and always will be a walking testimony and a walking. I'm transparent, because as I tell kids, I can't ask you to do and go nowhere I've never been or ever taught. And if I haven't been, I've been so close to damn it's about the same, because once you go through that emotional heart beating, as he was saying, yeah, it's the same. Once you ride a roller coaster 80 feet in the air, it's the same at 200 feet in the air. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same. That drop is the same.
Yeah, like I tell people all the time, I work because they respect my authentic self, and they know if I'm saying it, I lived it. Or like you said, came very close to it, that I know what it is. And I can give you the physical sensations of what you're going through. All right. Our next clip is Boys in the Hood. Volume.
Who said that? And the early English settlers, who were called, class? Pilgrims. That's right, the Pilgrims. Very good. The Penguins. Who said that? Mr. Stiles. That's me. How is it you always have something funny to say? Because I'm a comedian. Would you like to come up and teach the class? Yeah, I can do that. Very well, come on up. Instruct us. What will be the basis of your lecture?
What?
What are you going to talk about?
Hey, if you let me talk, shoot. Okay, alright, does anybody know what the name of this place is?
That's Africa. I know that.
That's right, that's Africa. But did you know that Africa is the place where the body of the first man was found? My daddy says that makes it the place where all people originated from. That means everybody's really from Africa. Everybody. Oh, yeah. Everybody.
I'm from Africa. I'm from Crenshaw Mafia.
Like it or not, you're from Africa.
I'm from Africa. You from Africa. You African booty scratcher.
I'll kick your ass.
Okay, boys, that's enough. Count to 10 and be quiet.
I'll get my brother, shoot you in the face. Get your punk ass brother,
Trey.
bitch. I'll get my daddy.
Trey.
He's like God, one motherfucker. Ain't your
That's
bitch.
it. Enough.
Ain't nobody's bitch,
Bobby.
bitch.
Are you listening?
Woo! I remember that movie. I also remember that era.
Yeah.
And there were so many aces in there. What help me what aces triggered that young man, if you don't mind?
From the time she stood up there with her arms folded, with the long ruler rod, whatever she want to call it, to giving a smart reply without justification. She could have done a lot of things differently, but again, not making excuses, just giving reasons. That's the model she was taught under. Yes. And anybody that understands education knows that the curriculum has not changed in 250 years. And if the curriculum hadn't changed in 250 years, it also was never intended for people of color. So that's a whole nother lane. So, but when he became triggered was when everything was funny. Watch this. Until the young kid, he was trying to let him know, I am you and you are me. We are the same. I'm trying to educate you and you still think this funny? That's why it was so heartfelt for him, because he said, I get why we laughing at the white lady, because she's just going to tell us everything that's simple. I'm trying to drop knowledge to you and you yet do not want to receive it. So I think that became a trigger for him, because then it became real to him of how it looks when he's laughing. So now as any person of color, well, I ain't saying any, most people of color do, we then go below the belt. You know, that you ain't got a daddy. You ain't got, you know, and I'm going, and now it goes from that to I will. When you get into them will statements, that's straight macho with them. That's straight man on man, mano a mano, young boy on young boy. Because I got to prove my hood cred.
Yeah, got to show and prove now.
I have to.
Even if you don't really want to do it, you have to do it.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring my co-host in right now, K-Mo, if you're still waiting.
How y'all doing? It's my other name is Kill. My rap name is K-Mo. I'm
okay.
Glad to be in some of the conversation you're having. I'm very intrigued.
What's going on, K-Mo? My favorite psychology rapper. See, I know who you are. Introduce yourself to Dr. Tucker. He doesn't know why I said that. Give me your credentials.
How you doing, Dr. Tucker? I'm Shaquille. I'm a psychology major. I have a bachelor's in psychology. And what you guys are talking about is right up my alley. Like as far as you know, the miseducation of our people, the miseducation of everybody, because everybody is taught how to think, and you know, it's taught us to think a certain way about ourselves and taught other people to think a certain way about ourselves, and we grow up catching aces, you know what I'm saying, based on that miseducation.
All right. How that clip impact you? What you felt about it? Did it bring you back to a point in your life in school?
I mean, yeah, it was definitely like with the whole pride thing. We kind of get pride instilled in us at a young age, like, and it's pride in the wrong things, and he started talking about, oh, my daddy gonna shoot you, or my daddy gonna do that, and it's like that is something that we kind of do as a defense mechanism. Like it's a return to violence, but it's like what we know.
Right. So, as I spoke with Dr. Tucker about some of the things, how you think the entertainment industry gets rich off of our childhood aces? What you think about that?
I actually have a song that I wrote recently. I have a bar in there that goes, "Property of state, the fate when properly miseducated, and you probably end up an agent if you can't see inside the matrix." So like, I definitely think that the music industry, the entertainment industry, as far as actors and you know what we see on TV, it all plays a part in feeding the monster. It all plays a part in, and like I said, teaching us how to think about ourselves. We see ourselves as, oh, I'm from Crenshaw, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, you're from somewhere way further back than that. Your history goes really far back, but like we don't tend to get into it because the entertainment industry is a distraction. One, you know, it's we're entertained by it, but we're also getting self-fulfilling prophecies from from the entertainment industry. So I think that it kind of upholds it feeds and then upholds a lot of the stereotypes that we have about ourselves.
I'm glad you said that. So I'm not going to speak with Dr. Tucker, but I'm a little bit more I'm a little bit more seasoned than you in terms of age, and I may be abreast of what's going on out here. But how do we reach the people in your age bracket, a little bit younger than you, in order to show them how to combat generational aces and how to work through that stereotype and to break that wall down? How do we do that? What can we do collectively together? Because we in this together.
Yeah. It's really just reach one, teach one, man. Jesus was a fisher of men, right? Sometimes you're gonna go fishing, but you ain't gonna catch nothing in the net. But the whole thing is, you know, first we gotta wake ourselves up, and then we try to wake up other people, because a lot of the things, you know, like we're not meant to be violent. We're not meant to, you know, hate each other. And I saw him talking about like our pants sagging and stuff. That's just another example of like following the entertainment industry. Like that's something we got from there, because I understand that it was something that was going on in prison beforehand, but we got it because that's what the hip hop artists started doing. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's just it's indoctrination, and we gotta just try to like do shows like this, you know what I'm saying, like where we're making people aware that like this is a miseducation. You are not meant to be this. You are meant to be whoever you are inside, whoever your spirit is. That's who you're meant to be. Not a gangster, not a basketball player necessarily. It depends. You gotta go inside yourself. But don't let nobody else tell you who you are.
Right. And you might have missed something Dr. Tucker had said earlier about so many of these young kids, male and female, don't know who they are yet. And it's that search for your identity that you grasp onto the thing that's easier, that low hanging fruit that you grab onto it, and this is who I want to be because it's safer. I could walk through these streets, I could walk on this block because I portray myself as this super tough guy.
Poke my chest out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, someone says exposure leads to expansion. Yes, we have to, Doc Savage said that.
Well, and Doc Savage is 100% correct. And Doc Savage, I'm gonna go ahead and not only give you kudos, I want to give you something to think about. You go back to across the United States of America about 15 to 20 years ago. What was the one thing that all school districts said that they gonna get rid of because of budget? It creates a high budget. Going on field trips. Hello. Yeah. So if I don't expose you, I'm not gonna make your brain go past you. Me and the kids, some high school students, I used to ask them one question. They come in my office and they say, "Doc this, Doc that." I said, "Oh man, I hear. Tell me what you see," and I will point at a wall. This is what they would tell me. I see a wall. I see a window. I see your I see you got your diploma up there. I said, okay, that's it. Yeah. And I said, when you get tired of me asking, you're gonna ask me what I see. And literally 15 to 20 minutes. I did this for 10 years. 15, 20 minutes. Finally, somebody would say, okay, Doc, you didn't told me. Okay, Miss Tucker, you didn't told me. I get tired. I should ask you. I said, yeah. You're going to ask me, okay, well, what do you see? I said, I don't see that. They said, what do you see? I said, I see a Walgreens. I see Highway 30. Since we talking east, now I see a place called Texarkana. You know what that is? That's Texas and Arkansas where it meets. And then they start laughing. I said, but I'm not done yet because I'm still riding. They said, well, where are you going? I said, oh, right now I'm hitting 45. I'm going to jump right into Tennessee. They said, wait a minute, how you see all that? I said, I'm not done. Now I'm going through Memphis. Now I'm going to go through a thing called Nashville. Now I'm going to hit Kentucky. They told me, wait a minute, 65. They said, wait a minute, what are you doing? I said, I asked you what you see. You told me. I'm telling you what all I see. All I'm saying is until you expand your mind, until you go places, all you will ever see is that wall in front of you. So Doc Savage had it right. We have to expose ourselves. I hate when kids tell me this. I went out of town. You did? Where you go? Oh, we went to Dallas. I'm in Arlington. Y'all know that's every bit of 18 miles. I used to say, Ninja, you didn't go out of town. You went down the street. Out of town means you leaving at least 4 to 6 cities over. You ain't going no 18 miles. I can get on a bicycle and do that in less than 2 hours. But it's that exposure. It's that exposure. And when you create that hunger, you create a whole new mentality. And when you create a whole new mentality, now you have a new vision. And when you have a new vision, you have a totally different mission. Whether that's one day I want to grow up to be I want to see what it looks like to be a father in a household. If you never had one, you not going off the Huxtables, because I kind of preferred James off Good Times. You know what I mean? Right? So I got to find that balance. But if I begin to think like that and see what that is, before I know it, I've created a whole new exposure. And because I've created an exposure, I might mess up my kids, but I'm going to mess them up in a good way.
Right. And what do you mean by a good way? Expand upon that.
Oh, that's by definition. So my good way is this. I have 4 beautiful kids, 3 boys and a girl, right? 3 of them, by the end of December, we'll have all masters. One of them just started college.
Oh.
We didn't talk about finishing high school. One of my kids, just give you a quick snippet, when he became paralyzed twice. That's a whole new ACEs. That's a whole new thing. And the second time, he was 8 turning 9. He went from 31 pounds up to 162 pounds because he was on steroids and he was on all this stuff. And we called him Chavo Tucker, because he looked like a Chavo, right? And we kept laughing and having fun. But I never forget, we were at a hospital in Texas, a children's hospital, and the social worker came in. I have my bachelor's in social work, so no knock on social worker. She says, so tell me, Mr. Tucker, so what do you see yourself next year? And my son looks at her talking about, ma'am, I don't know what you're talking about. She says, well, what do you see yourself next year? He said, you mean next year when I'm like in the 4th grade? She said, yeah. He said, I can't wait to finish junior. He said, I can't wait to finish elementary because in junior high, I get to play junior high sports. So then she said, oh, so what do you see yourself after junior high? He looked at her and said, high school. So she said, oh, high school? And he said, yeah, because in order for me to go to my college that I want to, I have to finish high school. It's an understanding. And we have to create a whole new understanding for our kids. There are some things you have to finish in order to accomplish. It's no in between. And yet we say to our kids in so many different facets, when we see Bill Gates, well, he did it without college. Whoa, ninja. That's 1 out of 700 million. We got to talk about true stats, not these anomalies.
And he was in college.
Come on, and quit. But he went because he knew higher education. And people think higher education means the degree. No, it's the exposure. Going back to what Dr. Savage said, it's the exposure. So just a little bit of tip of that. I'm sorry. Y'all go. Next question.
Well, no. I appreciate the words of wisdom and that dopeness. And in defense of us social workers, she read from a script, but she didn't understand. but she didn't understand. But it goes back to environmentally, she wasn't abreast of who he was and outside the environment.
Right.
I'm not going to ask you ethnicity, but she read from the script. We get it.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah.
my next topic on his aces is celebrity relationships. Are we going to commercial break or are we going straight into it?
Let's roll straight into it.
Straight into it. All right. Celebrity relationships, toxic bonding, negative inference. Do you see aces? I'll read it. Ike Turner. His father was beaten by a white mob and succumbed to his injuries when Turner was 5 years of age. Turner was sexually abused by multiple older women beginning at the age of 6. He quit school in the 8th grade. Tina Turner was a child of sharecroppers. When Tina was 10 years of age, her mother fled the constant fights with her husband, left her family and her home. Tina's dad eventually split as well, forcing her to have to grow up quickly. Shaquille, I'm not sure if you, yeah.
Violence. It's a couple aces in there. And that ripened, that seemed like it probably ripened her for that relationship with him, and he's treating her that way because you see the sexual abuse in his life. He's angry, I'm sure, when he saw his father, being beaten by a white mob. He wasn't thinking about school.
It's survival, like Dr. Tucker said earlier. It's about survival. I'm trying to get to the next 24 hours. And Tina, she probably didn't get the education or the love, paternal or maternal, that she needed. So she didn't know how to become a woman. And she didn't, how you say it, she didn't love herself. So she wasn't able to give nobody else that proper love.
And I would add that both of them were using the optical nerve, their eyes. So they were going off because if you notice, both of them are talking about a young age. So they're not comprehending anything, but they're seeing a lot.
Yeah.
And if I see it, you got those other two that'll probably be coming up. If I see it, I'm talking about the 3 gates of life. If I see it, then I can't help but hear it, which eventually means I'm going to speak it.
Right.
We grew up with monkey see, monkey hear, monkey do. That's a lie. Those are 3 gates, and those gates live. And those are the only gates. Catch this. Y'all, I know I'm preaching, but catch this. Those are the only 3 gates that never shut. They can only be closed. You'll catch that when you wake up in the morning. So catch it. It is impossible to close your eyes. You can shut your eyelids.
Right.
You can't close your ears. I need you to shut your ears. What does that look like, right? Okay, we put our mouth together as if it's closed. But isn't it funny how it still has a little seep of air come through?
Coming in.
So that means 24 hours a day, information is flowing in and out of one's eyes, one's ears, and one's mouth. So if I hear it, I speak it, I see it. I hear it, I speak it, I see it. I hear it, I speak it, I see it. I can't help but to do it. Don't get mad at me because the brain is only taking in the information.
As they say, talk. Talk.
Then to caveat off of that, seeing at a young age, those things, if you're not being spoken to about what's going on, if somebody's not helping you translate what you're seeing, hearing, then you start to make your own, observations or form your own ideas based on what's going on. And often that's how the cycle continues. It has to be broken by somebody who knows better coming in and trying to mitigate where you're headed.
And I'm a transition because I know we're going to go to another one. And so if somebody else was hearing it, I have a whole slide that I call PPR. It's perception, fantasy, reality. Now I'm gonna go back to what you just said, young man, because you're speaking truth. Perception, fantasy, reality. But the problem is you catching that second P, talking about, well, how the hell is he calling that a P when it's fantasy? Because it's P-H-A-N-T-A-S-Y. I'm gonna spell it again. P-H-A-N-T-A-S-Y. It's the fantasy you just spoke on. The one I create because nobody set me down and broke it down through my trauma, my drama, and even through bereavement, that I have now formed my fantasy. And because nobody assisted me in it, I get to live it out. Not that of a dream, but that of my own psychological fantasy that I live in, which is now my reality. How do we know it's true? Because you hear young men say, I hate my daddy. Then when you ask them, well, what's your daddy eat? I don't know. What's your daddy look like? I don't know. What's your daddy's favorite color? I don't know. Well, how you sitting here talking about somebody you don't know? I just hate him. What the hell? That's a fantasy. P-H-A-N-T-A-S-Y. He created it. He's going to live through it until somebody come and disrupt it. That's how I can walk out the streets right now with my chest all blew up about nothing. But then when I ask you simple math, hey, I need you 3 times 5 minus 6. Oh, man, you tripping.
but you know, that's how the ace is for you. It got you. It for you a bunch of hot air and get deflated in a minute. Like you said, you drop the truth bomb on them, they get deflated
quick.
Up next, we're gonna slide into Rihanna and Chris Brown. Chris Brown, his parents divorced when he was 7 years of age. He lost his virginity when he was 8 years old to a local girl who was 14 or 15. Before long, he and his sister and mother were living with her new husband in trailer park. Chris described lying in his bed, listening to his stepfather beat his mother. Can't shut your ears, no matter how hard you try. And no one was there to tell him what it was. Rihanna's childhood was marred by her father's struggle with addictions to alcohol and crack cocaine. Her parents' marital problems, they divorced when she was 14 years of age. Rihanna also struggled with crippling headaches for several years during her childhood, a condition she attempted to hide from her friends and classmates so they could not think that she was abnormal.
So somewhere she heard by me having these headaches that hurt so bad, I can't share that because somebody gonna think something's wrong with me for having these headaches that make me not be able to perform. We call them migraines. But anyway, all I'm saying is it was something she heard to create that fantasy that I can't share. Yeah. Lying in bed, listening to that. And again, going back to what you said, Miss Avinger, nobody come in there and break that story down. I created.
Yeah.
And we saw how their relationship, ended up playing out. So it's just like, and what people should start to do, like this should promote empathy. When you see things like that happening, don't demonize. Ask why. Why is this happening? Yeah. What for him to have been sexually assaulted, it's messed up. I'm glad that he's has some semblance of living an okay life. You know what I'm saying? Because to have seen what he saw at such a young age, Chris Brown, and then for him to have been sexually assaulted at such a young age, and then to have come into so much money, like I couldn't imagine, like the things that the self-destructive behaviors that he had more access to, that was based off of the aces that he was getting during that time. So like it's just like really, like disheartening sometimes, seeing some of the things that people end up going through. But it explains a lot when you see the result of where it came from.
Right. Because money just allows you to be who you really are, because you don't have to worry about consequences behind it. And like me and Dr. Tucker spoke earlier, your life happens when you're not on that stage and you're not on that field. And they're not trained for that aspect because they have a lot of yes men around them that they're feeding. Yep. So without the proper people and proper guidance around you, like you said, Shaquille, you open up to a whole lot of avenues of negative behaviors and things that's going to kill you.
We've seen it over and over.
Yeah, and then they end up messed up, strung out or overdose. You know, God rest their souls to those who have experienced that and gone through that. So we're gonna do one more, and then we're gonna close it out. Evelyn from Real Housewives of Basketball Wives. Her mother and father were never married, and they broke up when she was 2 years old. My mom didn't grow up with a dad. She doesn't even know who he is, and my grandparents wasn't the greatest of parents. Quote from Evelyn. I'm not saying that my childhood was terrible. I feel like we have certain patterns in our family with teenage pregnancy. Fathers not involved in their children's lives. She says there were breakups, children by other men, and domestic violence. Chad Johnson. His father was in prison for almost all of his childhood. Chad Ochocinco and his mom, Paula Johnson, had a complicated relationship from the very beginning. At a very young age, Ochocinco was separated from his mother when he was only 5 years of age. Ocho was left by his mom at his grandma's place. So many kids raised by their grandparents and don't get to experience, how you say it, it's the brokenness of childhood that doesn't allow you to grow into adulthood because you still haven't healed from childhood and you can't maintain and develop positive relationships with others. All you can do is just, I hate to use this word, it's so inappropriate, smash and dash and make babies.
Yep.
What y'all think about those aces there?
Well, it's right what you guys are alluding to. It's what it said. It's generational. Not only is it generational now, it's the norm. And as she said, I'm not saying my childhood was terrible. Yeah, the hell you are. You saying it. Own it. It's nothing wrong with it. Most of us will say our childhood was jacked up. We learned from it. We're trying to be better from it. And we're trying to do better things from it. We're not blaming our parents because they did what they had to do and they done what was best what they had. You know, you can't teach what was never taught. It's impossible. So our parents did what they could do, the very best they could do. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be learning from it. And when you get into generational aces, the thing that scares me is what we started off talking at the very beginning, Mr. Avenger, and that is what Avenger is when we said it becomes the abnormal becomes the normal.
Right.
I celebrate when you get out of prison, but I look at you crazy when you finish college.
Yeah, or start a business.
Oh, what's wrong with you? You think you better? Wait a minute, Mama, I'm confused. You gave the uncle that came out of prison, you gave him a whole 9-course meal. Y'all up here giving him money to put in his pocket. But a college student can't even get a small individual birthday cake.
Right. I say we celebrate dysfunction and aces as culture.
Come on.
And it's unfortunate. So, you know, K-Mo, what you think about generational aces?
I think you know, they definitely come into play, and with what was her name again?
Tucker.
No.
Evelyn.
No, I'm talking first. Yeah, Evelyn.
I don't know.
I don't really read names either. But with her saying, you know, she didn't really have a bad childhood. It's exactly what we were talking about. When you're not, like you said, if you're not, you can't teach something that was never taught. So like we've normalized all of these negative behaviors, all of this dysfunction, and that's before like drugs and all that stuff came in. We were kind of in a space where we were together more as a community. We were more tight knit. We had more discipline, so to speak, and we were taught certain things. But like if she's to the point where she doesn't even recognize anything being wrong. And if she doesn't recognize anything being wrong, then when she has her child, what's going to happen with her child? You know, like and not saying that all of those things will happen, but a lot of the times when something like that happens to you, you pass it down inadvertently. So when she's passing it down, she don't see nothing wrong, then it just kind of gets worse and worse as the years go along, as the generations go along. because you're getting further and further away from trying to combat these aces. And that's how the generational curse. And then back to what we were talking about earlier, the entertainment is reinforcing the aces. It's pushing it back in your face. So like we're getting taught to respond with anger, just like our abusive household taught us to do. You know, like when we see the shootings and all of that and whatnot. So it's just generational curses definitely perpetuate those aces, and the entertainment industry puts some salt and pepper on top of that.
And I'm gonna add just a little extra icing on that. I had a friend of mine, me and him was discussing the entertainment industry, mainly the music, and he was going back and forth. These are the different persuasion, and so we were laughing. And I told him, I said, you know what's funny is I cannot recall any other genre of music that put down their women the way we do. And yet they still are multi-millionaires, and we feel like the only way we can be that is by putting down our women, our kids, and even education. I said, because country music, it ain't nothing but gospel. I said, but they still making money off of it, and yet we laughing at it, but people still buying it. But we want to put down our own.
Yeah.
And I said, and I have a hard time with that. Well, Tucker, this needs to happen, that needs to happen. No, none of that has to happen. I said, when you got kids up here talking about how they want to be the next rapper, when you have better chances of being a surgeon, being a superintendent, going and do multiple of things before you even get this 13 or 7 cents on a record before you even get truly paid. But we're not having the critical conversations. They just seeing the end result of what's that? I can't even Pop Smoke. God rest his soul. You got all these different people out here portraying the image, and yet how hood can you be if you live in a gated community?
I'm telling you, people hypnotized, man. They don't understand that it's all a facade, and it's all put there to give us self-fulfilling prophecies, to give us things to believe about ourselves that are not true. We fall into we allow them to tell us who we are, as opposed to figuring it out based on the things that we like and don't like. And just like you said earlier, the field trips, I didn't know that they officially took them out. I just stopped going on them, but I remember when I was younger, like I remember going to the zoo, the aquarium, and these things I realized just some months ago, like these are the things that I like. These are the things that feed my spirit. Not going to the club, not going to these places. Like I'm just doing that because that's just the popular thing to do, and it's cool. Sometimes it's cool for me, but like most of the time that's not really what I want to do. I'd rather go like I go on a boat ride or something like that. And we don't think about these other things. We don't think about exposing ourselves to these other things because we're not exposed to them. And like that entertainment industry, man, I'm telling you, the people that control it don't have no good intentions for us, y'all. They don't have no good intentions for us. Us talking to our women like that, us treating ourselves like that, the fact that we glorifying being a drug addict, like even if you're a drug addict, don't glorify it. Understand why you're a drug addict and try to fight it. Don't glorify it. Like that's when you messed up. When you don't see anything wrong with the wrong behaviors. And that's what they're pushing us towards.
Only a customer. So I want to thank Dr. Tucker and Shaquille for coming on the show and making my show a great first show. I want to tell everybody the last Monday of the month, if you'd like to see more, come through. Visit acesmatter.org to support the cause and continue the conversation. And once again, thank you, Dr. Tucker and Shaquille and the people commenting on the side for watching the show and hearing the conversation. And like Dr. Tucker said, reach out, teach someone, and help someone so that we could. And Shaquille said it. We could break the cycle, but build the bond and build our communities up to where we need them to be. Because like I always tell people, I don't do this work for me. I do this work for my grandkids.
Right.
Because I'm going to pass away one day, but I just need them to be able to survive and do what they got to do. All right. And
I appreciate you having me, brother.
No problem. Anytime, Kay.
Anytime, fellas. Anytime. Bless you. Everybody stay up. Keep moving forward.
Yes, sir.
For sure.
All right. Everybody have a good one.
All right, you too.
There's a zip code near you that could use some healing, and we think you've got what it takes to become a zip code hero. Join the Aces Matter Zip Code Hero campaign and use your gifts to help raise a family out of poverty, mental illness, and even despair. Aces Matter wants to end multi-generational cycles of childhood trauma, and we need people like you who are willing to take one for the team. What's in it for you? Glad you asked. First of all, you'd help create a healthier humanity, and who wouldn't want their name associated with that? Secondary benefits include the joy of helping a family that wouldn't otherwise have access to you. And we can't forget to mention that we would have cross promotions for your product or service, brand endorsement, viral customer testimonies, and special acknowledgments on all the Aces Matter social platforms. Yesterday, a family could have used your gifts. Today, we can make the call. Let's be real. We need to heal. Apply today to become a zip code hero, and let's heal humanity together, one zip code at a time. Visit us at acesmatter.org to learn more.
Mentally abusing them, physically abusing them, sexually abusing them, adverse childhood experiences, adverse childhood experiences, mentally abusing them, physically abusing them, sexually abusing them.
Adverse childhood experiences. We got the unpredictable stresses that children go through, like losing mommy or daddy, or watching them go to jail, forced to grow up because they've been touched down there. They even see parents depressed with no time to spare. This is why the kids are lonely, traumatized. That's why Aces Matter.